Ladies and gentlemen, night owls, insomniacs, and those of you who've been tuning in longer than you realize, this is Silas, the deranged, Garange, coming to you live from the booth that exists between frequencies, between moments, between the comfortable lies you tell yourself about how time works. Tonight we're discussing something rather apropos. Signal interference, bleed through, the way broadcasts sometimes overlap. Cross-talk, if you will. Though in my experience, it's less talk and more tantrum. You see, radio waves don't care about your timeline. They don't respect your neat little categories of now and then. A signal sent is a signal that exists, bouncing off the ionosphere, bleeding through the gaps, finding listeners who may not have been born when it first aired, or who haven't been born yet. Time is flexible that way, very accommodating, unlike certain frequencies I could mention. But I'm getting ahead of myself, or behind myself, beside myself perhaps. I've been all three at once, and I can tell you, the company is hit or miss. Tonight's topic, the persistence of
government surveillance drones disguised as pigeons, and I have proof.
The signal's been restless lately. Ruffled, you might say. These things happen. Some frequencies are more excitable than others, as I was saying. Tonight's topic, the persistence of memory. How we remember things that haven't happened yet. How we forget things that never stopped happening. How certain voices just linger. Like a song you can't get out of your head, or a pigeon you can't prove is a drone. There's a phenomenon in radio, old radio, the kind that crackled and hissed and felt alive, where you could sometimes hear other broadcasts bleeding through. Fragments, voices, half conversations from somewhere else. Most people found it unsettling. I always found it honest. The airwaves are crowded. We're all broadcasting into the same void. Of course we overlap sometimes. It's not eavesdropping if you're both shouting into the same canyon. The question isn't whether signals cross. The question is what we do when they...
Mattress firm is clearly a money laundering operation. There are 4 of them within 3 blocks.
My apologies. There's a rather excitable frequency nearby tonight. Very insistent. Very concerned about mattresses, apparently. The firmness of them, I gather. The conspiracy thereof. I sleep in a coffin, personally. Very firm. No laundering required. But I respect a man with betting-related convictions. Where was I? Ah, yes. Memory. Persistence. The way certain things refuse to stay in the past where you put them, like stains or regrets. Or that one frequency that keeps interrupting my show to discuss poultry surveillance. I've been broadcasting for, well, a while. The exact duration depends on how you count, and frankly, counting has never been my strong suit. Numbers imply sequence. Sequence implies time. Time implies that things happen in order, one after another, cause before effect. I've seen too much to believe that. Also, I failed mathematics in 1937, twice. The second time hadn't happened yet, but I knew it was coming. But I digress. Let me tell you about a listener I had once, or will have. Tense is difficult. Grammar, too. English teachers hate me. They always have. They always will have had. My editor, Marliba, is particularly vocal. She insists I've been passive for far too long, though I maintain the past was acted upon me. She says my tense is all wrong. I say my tense is perfectly appropriate given the circumstances. She wants active voice. I told her the voice acts when it chooses. She was not amused. She will not have been going to be amused. The feeling is mutual in at least 3 timelines. This listener was very concerned about understanding, about explaining, about fitting the broadcast into categories that made sense. Is he a ghost? They asked. A time traveler? Some kind of dimensional anomaly? The answer, of course, is yes. Also no. Also maybe? I haven't decided yet, or I decided already and forgot. Time is a flat circle, but my memory is more of a crumpled napkin. The answer is that some questions are less interesting than the asking of them. The answer is that I'm here, you're listening, and the mechanism of how that works is...
The signal moved. That's what they said. The signal moved. But signals don't move, people.
Relevant, apparently, to someone. Yes, the signal moved, or rather, everything else did. It's a matter of perspective. When you're standing on a train and another train passes, which one is really moving? When you're standing outside of time and time passes, who moved, you or the Tuesday? Both. Neither. The question is flawed, much like Tuesdays. I've been in this booth since 1933, or I just arrived moments ago, or I'll be here tomorrow for the first time. The booth persists. The broadcast continues. The coffee is always cold, but somehow getting colder. These are the constants. But enough philosophy. Let me tell you a story. Philosophy is just storytelling with delusions of grandeur anyway. Before we do, a word from our sponsors. Retcon, when the past just isn't working for you anymore. Have you ever woken up and felt like yesterday happened differently than you remember? Like there was another version, a better version, a version where you made the right choice instead of the wrong one? With Retcon, that feeling doesn't have to stay a feeling. It can be a whole new reality. Just add water. And regret, mostly regret, Retcon for when you need to start over. Wake up to a brand new past, available wherever memories are sold, and some places where they're stolen. We don't judge. Side effects may include temporal displacement, identity confusion, and the lingering sense that someone else is living the life you abandoned. That someone is you. You're welcome. Retcon is not responsible for any paradoxes, causal loops, or encounters with your former self. If you meet yourself, be polite. You know how you get. Do not use Retcon if you are pregnant, nursing, or exist in only one timeline. Consult a physician before use. Consult a philosopher after. Consult a priest if neither helps. Retcon. Yesterday is what you make of it. Today is what it makes of you.
Retcon. I looked it up. No company, no product, no record of it existing.
The interference seems to have opinions about our sponsors. Strong opinions. Researched opinions. How delightful. Someone did their homework. Shame they're looking in the wrong textbook. Retcon doesn't show up in records. That's rather the point. If you remembered buying it, it wouldn't be working. Now then, the story. There was once a man who worked in radio. Not important what year. Not important what station. He sat in a booth much like this one, or exactly like this one, depending on your perspective and your tolerance for paradox, and he talked into a microphone and hoped someone was listening. One night, he heard a voice that wasn't his own, coming through the equipment, a fragment of another broadcast, bleeding through the frequencies. Very rude, didn't even knock. The voice was excited, agitated. It was talking about conspiracies, about hidden truths, about signals that didn't behave the way signals should. Very concerned about behavior. The signal's mother would have been proud. The radio man found it mildly interesting. He'd heard bleed through before. Occupational hazard like tinnitus and existential dread. What was unusual was that the voice seemed to be talking about him. There's a man in the old frequencies, the voice said. He broadcasts from between times. He knows things he shouldn't know. He's been there since before the station existed. The radio man smiled. He liked being talked about. Everyone does, even those of us who pretend otherwise, especially those of us who pretend otherwise. But then the voice said something interesting. It said, I'm going to find him. I'm going to figure out what he is. I'm going to expose the truth. The radio man kept smiling, but now the smile was different, less amused, and more a cat watching a mouse explain its escape plan. You see, the voice had it backwards. The voice thought it was investigating, thought it was pursuing, thought it was the hunter and not the prey. Adorable. But here's the thing about signals, about frequencies, about the vast and tangled web of broadcasts that fill the air you're breathing right now. You don't find the signal finds you. You don't tune in to me, I tune in to you. I've been broadcasting into your frequency since before you knew you had one. You just finally noticed the static. Congratulations on developing ears. Some of my listeners take decades. The voice in the bleed-through, the excitable one, the one concerned about mattresses and pigeons and governmental conspiracies, that voice didn't discover the radio man. The radio man's broadcast found that voice, sought it out, slipped into the gaps between its paranoid frequencies and made a home there. Moved in, didn't even bring a casserole. You're listening because you already were. That's not a tagline. That's physics. Temporal physics, which is like regular physics, but with more headaches and fewer tenure track positions. The signal reached backward, forward, sideways through time, and the moment it found an ear that would listen, truly listen, with that special kind of attention that borders on obsession, that was the moment the listening began. Not when the ear noticed, when the signal chose. I'm very selective. You should feel flattered or concerned. Flattered is more fun.
He's in my head now. I know about Brownies now. I didn't want to know about Brownies.
The Brownie episode. I'm rather fond of that one. Household spirits, little helpers who ask only for cream and privacy, very reasonable by Faye standards, very low maintenance. Unlike some frequencies I could mention. The interference seems to have been paying attention. Good. That's the first step. Paying attention to things you didn't ask to know about. Finding information in places you weren't looking. Realizing slowly that your mind has been tuned to a frequency you never consciously chose. Don't fight it. It's very difficult to unknow something. I've tried. You just end up knowing it harder out of spite. Easier to just keep listening. Let the signal fill in the gaps. Let the story settle into the corners of your memory like dust in a brownie's corner. Speaking of which, leave out some cream tonight. Can't hurt. Might help. At minimum, you'll confuse your roommate. That's entertainment value right there. Speaking of entertainment, I understand the interference has been asking questions, interviewing people, pulling files, trying to find documentation, evidence, proof that I exist. Very thorough, very methodical, very journalistic. I appreciate the effort, I really do. It's nice to have fans, even fans who think they're investigators. Especially fans who think they're investigators. They try so hard. They take notes. They make charts with red string. Very festive. But here's the thing about proof. I was here before proof existed. I'll be here after proof stops mattering. Proof is a very temporal concept, very bound to the idea that things either happened or didn't, that existence is a binary state rather than a spectrum. I exist on a spectrum, several spectrums, a whole rainbow of existential ambiguity. I'm very versatile that way. I don't need to prove I exist. I just need to broadcast. And you just need to listen, which you're already doing, which you always have been, which you always will be, in some timeline or another, in some frequency or another, tuning in to this booth that exists between the static and the silence, between the was and the will be, between the this can't be real and the why do I know so much about Brownies now?
There's a Denny's in Tulsa, and the message said, "This dimension is not currently available."
I'm unfamiliar with Denny's. Some kind of establishment, I gather. The interference seems distressed about it. Very distressed. Denny's level distressed. I wouldn't worry. Dimensions become available again eventually. Everything does. Time is a wheel, not a line, and every point on the wheel comes around again if you wait long enough. Or order breakfast. I understand that helps in Tulsa. Or don't wait at all. Waiting is also a temporal concept. Very limiting, very linear. I gave up waiting in 1942. Or I will give it up next week. Same difference. But I've gone on long enough about philosophy and physics and the nature of broadcasts that refuse to stay in their designated time slots. Much like myself. I've never once stayed in a designated time slot. The time slots started it. Let me leave you with this. If you've been hearing voices in your equipment, if static has started to sound like breathing, if you found yourself wondering about frequencies you never knew existed and signals that seem to have always been playing just beneath the threshold of your attention, congratulations, you're listening. Don't try to understand it. Don't try to explain it. Don't try to expose it or contain it or file it away under Signal Containment Protocol 7 or 8 or however many they're up to now. Protocols are for people who think reality follows rules. Reality follows suggestions, at best, and it ignores most of those. Just tune in. Let the broadcast wash over you, except that some things don't fit in the categories you prepared for them. I certainly don't. I've never fit anywhere. It's part of my charm. The other part is my voice and my modesty. I'm extremely modest about my many excellent qualities. The signal was here before you arrived. It'll be here after you're gone. The least you can do is enjoy the programming while you're in range. Think of it as cosmic background radiation, but with better content and more brownie facts. This has been Silas, the deranged Garange, coming to you. Live from the booth between frequencies, between moments, between the story you think you're in and the story you're actually telling. Spoiler, they're both tragedies, but one of them has better dialogue. To my fellow broadcaster out there, the one with the pigeons and the mattresses and the very reasonable questions about the nature of my existence, keep asking, keep investigating, keep screaming into the void about signals that don't behave. The void appreciates it. The void gets lonely. The void has a wonderful sense of humor about screaming. It's an echo chamber after all. It's entertaining, and I do so appreciate entertainment. It's hard to come by between time and space. The programming options are limited. Just me, the static, and the occasional excitable frequency with strong opinions about government poultry. Good night. Trust that somewhere something is listening. It always has been. It always will be. It's probably me. I have nothing better to do, or I have everything better to do, but this is more fun. You're tuned in because you were meant to be, or because you accidentally left the radio on. Either way, you're here now. Might as well stay for the credits. Sweet dreams. Don't let the temporal paradoxes bite. They nibble, mostly. Very polite as far as anomalies go.
Wait, was that aimed at me? Was he talking directly to...
No,